become somewhat of a tradition for folks to make New Year's resolutions. I don't do that as a rule. This video and podcast is partially intended to explain why, and it's also intended to kind of get into the idea, the nuts and bolts, if you will, of things like motivation and making decisions, decision making, right? Hello and welcome to the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I am Kurt. Today is Thursday. Yes, it's Thursday. Yesterday wasn't Thursday. Sorry about that. The 31st of December of 2020. It is New Year's Eve. Tomorrow will be Friday. That's right. It will be Friday tomorrow, not today. The 1st of January of 2020. And again, I'm sorry about that. And tomorrow will be New Year's Day. I got it all confused on my video yesterday. And so that sort of was the end result. I'm welcoming, obviously, everyone who comes aboard, who visits me, who comes to listen or who comes to watch on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Thank you for coming along. And I wanted to talk today about a subject that I gave for my little video in my podcast, and it is no time like the present. And here's the thing. There are a lot of people, as I say, out there who are sold on the idea of the need to make New Year's resolutions. And I just want you to understand that I generally think that's a bad idea. I'm not saying every New Year's resolution ever made was bad, but I'm saying that about 90% of the time, it may be a smaller number, it may be 85, it may be 80, and obviously it depends on the person to some degree. New Year's resolutions end up at some point being broken. Oh, I'm going to get more fit or whatever people say, and then they don't end up doing the thing that they said that they were intending to do. And that's actually somewhat understandable. And the reason that that's understandable is that people who make New Year's resolutions tend to do so out of a sense of obligation rather than a sense of motivation. They don't tend to be motivated to do the thing that needs to be done. They tend to feel obligated to do it. And that's not really a very good place to start from. And I also want to point out that there are a lot of people out there who already have problems with motivation to the point where other people are pushing them around and I don't mean that in a bullying sense. I mean that in a sense of motivating them, getting them motivated to do particular things instead of doing that job themselves. And one of the more important skills that you'll ever learn in life is self-motivation. It starts for me with getting up out of bed when you're supposed to. I don't set snoozes. And where right now I'm using alarms, I really mostly don't need them and haven't done so for a very, very long time. Now, to be fair, right now, I pretty much get up when the alarm says because I use all of the time that I can to rest, and that's the only real reason. But the fact of the matter is, typically I could wake up 5 minutes before my alarm goes off, not let it go off, or even better yet, not set an alarm at all, and it wouldn't bother me at all. This is what is meant in my mind by the idea of self-motivation, is you do things for yourself without other people having to push you in particular directions or remind you or sit beside you while you do it. Now, I'm not talking down. I'm not disparaging at all, in fact, the idea of having people help you to motivate yourself in particular directions. If that works for you, I'm great with that. But I'm just going to tell you that there's going to come a point in your life when you're going to have to do those things for yourself. And that's just reality. That's just how that works. If you want to do something, there are any number of ways that you can approach that, right? The first of them being that you can decide, I'm going to do it now, and start moving in the direction of doing that thing. Well, sometimes you decide that you want to do something now, but you decide that you can't necessarily do anything about it now. And in that case, just keeping that thing in your list of priorities might be the only thing that you can really do, and that's understandable. But the thing is, it's better in any case to keep that on your list of priorities, for example, than it is to decide on doing it later or ultimately not really decide to do it at all, right? The point here, the thing that I'm saying is, in general, motivation looks simply to begin with like you're having a blip on the radar. This is something that needs to be done. And then positive steps towards doing that thing or those things are always good. They're always good. Positive steps are, right? So what you do is you come to the conclusion you want to do a given thing. And you might have to think about that for a while and make sure that that's what you want to do. And that's totally understandable. But once you decide on doing a particular thing, it's time to start moving in that direction. And like I say, if nothing else, just reminding yourself I'm moving in that direction, I think is a pretty good thing to do. Obviously, if you can do substantial things of any kind, even if they're not like major things, but just things that matter towards moving in a given direction, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good thing to do, in my personal opinion. So, one, decide that you want to take a particular course of action. Invest in that fact. Two, three, make it a blip on your radar, a thing that you consider. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. It's not an obsession, right? It's just when you think about your goals for a particular period of time, you remind yourself that you need to do that thing, okay? And then the next thing is to actually do things that move you in that direction where it's possible to do so. And sometimes you can do that in ways that you wouldn't even think. You can start to facilitate moves in given direction in ways that you don't necessarily even think will help, but they actually do. And like I say, the other option to me is deciding to do it later, or most of the time deciding to never do it at all, frankly. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the idea, and I've kind of touched on this a little already, but I wanted to talk about the idea why, in my opinion, for most people, New Year's resolutions don't work. The fact of the matter is, most people take on New Year's resolutions, and when they do so, much of the time what they do is not do what the Jewish people do when they do the period where they actually look over their lives and try to decide how to better their lives, and look for things that they can do to improve their lives and so forth, and reflect on the past and how they can improve it, how they improve the future and so forth. But what they do is they just sort of jump to things that they think that they're going to do. And in fact, for a lot of people, it's literally almost a joke when you say, what are your New Year's resolutions? And they say things that really will never be things that they're actually excited about or intending to do, right? So that's probably the first reason to me that they don't work. And the second reason is that a lot of people who are not particularly motivated will say, I'm going to do this thing, and because they don't know how to motivate themselves in that direction, they don't ever do that thing, those things, or that thing, because they're not motivated towards it. And then, like I say, that's an important consideration. Another thing is that when many people talk about New Year's resolution, they're talking about something that's way off in the distance, right? It's not something that's right there in front of their face. It's something that they're thinking, I'm going to do this in the new year. They're not thinking, I'm going to start this now and I'm going to follow through. There are people who talk about the idea that if you do something for a certain period of time, it forms a habit. I don't know if that's true or not. I personally tend to believe that you just have to keep doing. I don't care how boring it is. I don't care that it's not exciting or whatever. That really doesn't matter to me. If something is important enough for you to resolve to do it, you just need to keep doing whatever you can to move in the direction. Like I say, whether it's just remembering that it's something that you need or want to do, or whether it's something more like actually taking concrete steps towards making that thing happen, which is probably the better thing in general. So this, to me, these are the sorts of things that make it so New Year's resolutions don't work. People look at it like it's off in the distance. People say things that are unrealistic or unreasonable, or that they really don't care about, or they really don't want to do, but they think that they want those things, and so forth. And this is why I don't support that. But I do support the idea of change. And again, there is no time like the present to have those changes start. And what that means is, like I say, decide to make the change, put it on your radar, make it so it's something you think about, take concrete steps, even if you take steps in your mind, but preferably if you take concrete steps to make that thing happen, and continue to evaluate whether or not it's something you really want, because you may find that it's not. All right, I need to go ahead and wrap up, so I'm going to do that now. As I say, today is Thursday, the 31st of December. I got that all messed up yesterday of 2020, and it's New Year's Eve. Tomorrow will be Friday, the 1st of January of 2021, and I'm going to go ahead and try and get out a January 1st, a New Year's Day a Daily Summation. So hopefully we'll see you then. I am glad to have you along as usual, whether on Rumble, on podcast, or on YouTube. Thank you for joining me. And hopefully I'm saying something that you will find meaningful or useful. And hopefully you will have a good day. And we will see you again tomorrow. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video is recorded on Thursday, the 31st of December, 2020. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.